this organ was part of sort of like a cultural identity. Not many people know this, how important organ building was. So, and especially this piece from the Schloss Charlottenburg, it was built in the early 1700s. Then it was forgotten, sort of like the art of organ building was forgotten. Then new cultural movements, people who were interested in not just in the craft but also in the aesthetics of this particular musical instrument, sort of like wanted to restore this, and not just this particular instrument, but the entire sort of like artistic tradition that comes with it. So my students and I could follow a history of science, of a craft, of socioeconomic development, of approaches to aesthetics, just by following the history of this particular piece. So I would tell my students, this piece by, and he was a master builder, he was like really the person, you know. Arp Schnitger built this particular organ in Charlottenburg. Then, interestingly, organs built in Germany were also became part of an, let's say, of an abusive identity, because in the Nazi era, in the Third Reich, the Nazis sort of like took over and wanted the organs to represent their new National Socialist identity. So you can look at the organ as also sort of who used it for political efforts, not just aesthetically. It's not just a musical instrument. You see, and during the war, the Second World War, this particular organ, and also one in Hamburg in northern Germany, people tried to save the interior craftsmanship, as if like you have a puzzle of history, and you want to restore it and save it for the future, for future generations. Unfortunately, the interior of this particular organ, it was hidden in bunkers, but it didn't survive. It fell victim to the bombings. So it is part and parcel of like a quest, or kind of like an historical inquiry in what makes German identity. And of course, German literature from 1650 to even to the 20th century is so much about the relationship between music and the poetics of language. So I very often teach literature classes where the protagonists of the literary text are master builders of musical instruments. So for me it is incredibly exciting. But also to trace, to use music to trace a cultural, political, artistic history and tradition. I would not even stop with the Third Reich or the aftermath after 45. Then you go after 89, when the Berlin Wall fell, because this movement to restore historical instruments is very, very big in Germany. It's very, very important. And ever since the reunification, many historical sort of like attempts to play, with historical instruments, you find in the former East. So I, as a teacher of German studies, I could go to the organ with my students, and we could have the history of craftsmanship. We could have the history of who abuses or who uses cultural artifacts for their political interests. Who are sort of like the patrons? Who pays for something like this? And who paid in the 1700s? Who had, so what are the interests behind this? So it's very, very interesting, and I very much like the hands-on. So for German studies, and we are always very, very close to music. We have very close collaborations. It will be wonderful.